What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing our Week 10 preview for the 2020 NFL season. The Thursday night game for this week, it was a good one. I gotta say, the last couple have not been very fun to watch. It's just been kind of boring, the matchups. The games haven't necessarily been terrible, but they're just uninteresting to me personally. But this week was the Indianapolis Colts at the Tennessee Titans, and it was a really good game. The Colts ended up squeezing out a victory 34-17, which I thought was going to happen. I figured the Titans were going to lose this division game in particular, but I just wanted to point out that that was a good game. The other thing I want to get into here is that the bye weeks for this week, there's 4 teams once again. It's the Atlanta Falcons, the Dallas Cowboys, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the New York Jets. So now let's just get straight into the first game. Alright, so the first game is the Houston Texans at the Cleveland Browns. And so in a normal year, the Texans would probably easily take this one, but this is definitely a more hotly contested game considering the Browns have a winning record, and they've kept a winning record for a good couple of weeks now. It's pretty crazy how good the Browns are doing compared to their last few seasons. I mean, like, you got to remember that the Browns were 0-16 not that many years ago. You know, it really wasn't that long ago, and now they're already looking like they could potentially make the playoffs. And you know, normal teams are able to bounce back from things like this, but it's just the troubled history of the franchise that makes it surprising that they're this good now. That being said, the Texans are hungry for more wins. They started off on a real bad start, going, I believe it was 0-6, and then getting their first win. It's an interesting game. But you know what? I think I am going to go with the Texans winning here. It's just, I don't know if I'm entirely sold on the Browns. I think they're definitely, if they make the playoffs, they're a first-round exit team. But, you know, they are, I'm going to give them credit, you know, even though I'm a Steelers fan, they are so much better than they have been in recent years. So I think I'm going to give Houston the win, but I'm definitely giving props to Cleveland there. So the next game is Washington Football Team at the Detroit Lions. This is a little bit less interesting than most of the games this week. I have Detroit winning, though. Football team has been pretty good. I mean, they did beat the Eagles in week 1, and they also beat the Cowboys, but those were both division games. You know, those usually can go either way. But now they're just not as great, although it looks like Alex Smith will be the starter as far as I know, after Kyle Allen seems to have snapped his ankle or something, I believe. I'm not too informed on that situation, so don't quote me on that. But, you know, football team, they don't have a lot going for them, even in name. But I think Detroit's just a better team, so I have them taking the win at home here. So the next game is the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Green Bay Packers. Not a lot to say about this. The Packers are probably going to win. Jaguars are not as bad as I thought they would be, but they are definitely not great. You know, they played well without Gardner Minshew last week, but I still don't see them. I don't think they're going to play that well against the Packers. They have just a better team all around. Aaron Rodgers is playing like an MVP. I just don't see it going too well for the Jacksonville Jaguars here. So the next game is the Eagles at the Giants. Again, I believe they already played once this year. If I'm not mistaken, I don't know. Every Eagles game I've watched has been pretty poor, so they kind of all just blend together into one mush of awfulness. But New York is a team with not a lot of upside. They're just not... They're not cutting it this year. Daniel Jones is not the guy. I think we can all agree on that now. His fumbling issues are too bad. He costs his team some games. He's good on the run, not the best reader in terms of passing. But I just don't know. Philly's not a good team either, but they're pretty much the favorites to win the division because it's not tough competition whatsoever. So I have Philly taking this win here. So the next game is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Carolina Panthers. And so this one is interesting because the Saints destroyed the Buccaneers last week on Monday Night Football. Absolutely destroyed them. Tom Brady looked like a fool. He threw 3 picks. It's just... I guess the Saints are his kryptonite now that he's in Tampa Bay. But, I mean, that was an especially bad performance from the GOAT. But the Panthers aren't too amazing. I'm a big fan of them personally, but Christian McCaffrey might be out again. He might have gotten hurt last week, as far as I know. And Teddy Bridgewater's great, but with Christian McCaffrey, they'd have more of a chance of winning this game. I have the Buccaneers winning. I also see Antonio Brown making more of a dent in the yards, in the total yards for the offense than last week. He didn't really do too much. And his first big play as a Buccaneer was playing DB when Brady almost threw what would have been a fourth pick on the night. But yeah, I'm not too sold on the Panthers right now. But that's because their best player is not on the field. So I have the Buccaneers winning there. So the next game is the division game in the AFC West. It's the Denver Broncos at the Las Vegas Raiders. So this one I see being a pretty good game. I think it'll be pretty close, but I have the Raiders winning. I think they're going to go on a win streak. I talked about this a bit last week. I just touched on it. The Raiders, I think, are set. They have a pretty easy patch in their schedule, and I think this could be what pushes them to the playoffs, is this little stretch right here. Because the Chargers and the Broncos aren't great, but these couple wins here can definitely set them up in the overall AFC seeding and potentially sneak into the playoffs with this patch right here of games that they have that are easily winnable. And they have beat the Saints and the Chiefs, so I'm pretty sold on them. I don't know about anyone else. I know some people online are not really sold on them. I just feel like their record does not reflect how good of a team this is, especially offensively. So I have the Raiders beating the Broncos here. So the next game is the Los Angeles Chargers at the Miami Dolphins. And again, in a normal year, it feels like the Chargers would probably mow through the Dolphins, but the Chargers cannot clutch up a game to save their lives. And I'd like to give all the props in the world to Justin Herbert. He's really good out of the bat. I don't even know if he expected to be the starter in his first season. The team didn't. But they just cannot clutch up games. I mean, it was a heartbreaking loss last week against the Raiders. But still, if Herbert just inches a little forward in progress, I think I could see them winning a couple more games, but I think they're going to be a lower team in the league this year, even though the point deficits in their losses have been so small. Still, I have Miami winning here because they are looking good with Tua Tagovailoa. He looks like he's going to be the guy for them. I'm not entirely sure yet, but he looks promising so far, so I have the Dolphins winning there. And so moving on, we have the Buffalo Bills at the Arizona Cardinals. This is probably the most exciting game this week, in my opinion. I'm really looking forward to this. The Cardinals get a chance to prove that they are a great team because they beat the Seahawks 2 weeks ago, but the Bills just beat the Seahawks last week, and pretty soundly, I might add. So this is a real big test for Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. I'm not entirely sure if they're going to be able to pull one off here. I am going to go with the Bills in general, but if the Cardinals are able to squeeze out a victory, I think they've proven that they're a playoff team this year versus in the next couple years like a lot of people think they are. But I do have Buffalo taking the win here. So the next game is the Seattle Seahawks at the LA Rams. This one is a little interesting. This is also the gameplay you're watching here. I'm sure you can tell. The Rams they had a really hot start. They are slowing down. They've been losing some games. I think that they are more pretenders than contenders, personally. Alright, and there's a couple people, one person in particular, if they see this, that's going to be mad that I said that, but I just don't think this is their year. I think give them a couple years for their contract situation and the cap hits to go down, and they could, afford to add some more pieces where they're incomplete and be a good team. But I see for the next couple years, I don't see them being too great. And the Seahawks are definitely in win now mode. Russell Wilson is carrying them. They're on track to be the worst passing defense in NFL history, like by a lot. Like I read a stat somewhere, I'm not sure who to give credit to because I don't remember where I saw it, but they're allowing more passing yards per game than Peyton Manning got per game in his record-setting season in 2013. So they're on record bad pace, and just the fact that they have such a good record is a testament to how good Russell Wilson truly is as a player. And I do have them squeezing out a division win here. I feel like the Seahawks, as good as they are offensively, I feel like they might crumble in the playoffs just because of how poor their defense is. Maybe they can get it together. Carlos Dunlap just got traded there on the defensive line, and it doesn't help the secondary out at all. But, it's a step. The pass rush needed help too. But I don't know. The pass defense is a huge problem. And the fact that they're that bad is a little concerning, but I do have them getting the win here. So the next game is the San Francisco 49ers at the New Orleans Saints, and these two teams had a shootout last season. I believe it had almost, if not 100 points scored total. It was definitely a shootout. It was a very fun game to watch. But this year, the Saints are significantly better than the Niners. The Saints had a bad start but caught up and are now a good team. They're leading their division. And the Niners are just not on track. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Jimmy Garoppolo's out again. He re-aggravated his high ankle sprain, which is not good for them, but he wasn't playing good anyway, so I just don't know. I think this is just a reboot year for the Niners. You know, they lost so many players to injury. I think it's time they just need to take a step back this year and plan for the future. You know, I could easily see them being a top NFC team next year. It's just the way injuries went down and tore this team apart. It's not going their way this year. So I have the Saints taking the win there. And moving on to the next game, it's the Cincinnati Bengals at the Pittsburgh Steelers, the undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers. First time 8-0 in franchise history. It's been a crazy ride, I gotta say. It's been really exciting to watch these games and see the boys clutch up every week. But, you know, the streak without a bye week, by the way, still angry at the Titans for all that. I'm sure you guys have probably seen my video from a couple weeks back after the Titans got our bye week moved after the reschedules had to happen. Just saying, we have to go on we're in the middle of a 13 game streak without a bye week, you know, until the playoffs. Hopefully we can get a bye, you know, so far we would have one. Who knows how our schedule will look by the end of it. Personally, I have us going around 13-3 or 14-2, just looking at the strength of the rest of our schedule. But I just feel like the fatigue is going to catch up to us and we might lose a winnable game. But I'd rather that happen in the regular season than in the playoffs. Obviously, you know, it's fairly obvious, but it's just the Pittsburgh Steelers are just such a great team this year, and I'm really excited to watch them. And the Cincinnati Bengals are not as bad as I thought they would be either, just proving that the AFC North is the best division of football, I think. But I do have the Steelers winning here. I think it'll be a lot closer than games in recent history have been. I think it'll be, you know, similar scores to the other Steelers games that we've won, like around 28-20 maybe is what I'm guessing. But I think the Steelers are definitely going to win this one. And so the Sunday night game for this week is the Baltimore Ravens at the New England Patriots. And so, again, I've said this multiple times, in a normal year this would be a really exciting game to watch, but the Patriots have not been performing too well. They did come back and win soundly over the Jets, but the fact that they were down almost the whole game against the Jets is pretty sad. This is just not the Patriots' year. I think give another year or two to rebuild and they could be back up to form perhaps. But at the same time, a lot of their players that are still really good are going to be old by then. And I just don't know what the future of the Patriots is, to be honest. I do not think it's Cam Newton, though. I'll be honest. He's not playing amazing. Not what they wanted him to. But, you know, he's not getting paid a lot to be there, so it's not a huge loss if they let him go. A lot of people were expecting him to be MVP. Be MVP Cam again. You know, maybe not necessarily win the award, but you know what I mean? Like, playing like he did when he won the MVP in 2015. But he just hasn't. And so I have the Ravens easily taking a win here. It's an interesting matchup in terms of this season. 2020 has been a crazy season so far. I mean, year as a whole, but especially the NFL season. There's a lot of teams that were expected to be good that aren't that great, like the Patriots and the 49ers. It's just the Ravens are such a better team. You know, they haven't looked too strong recently. You know, they're not as dominant as they were last year, not even close. Lamar Jackson's not having as great of a season. But the Ravens are overall just a better team than the Patriots, so I have them getting the win here. So now getting into the Monday night game, it is an NFC North matchup between the Minnesota Vikings and the Chicago Bears. This is an interesting one. The Bears were off to a hot start. They've lost a couple games. You know, they're kind of middle of the road now. And the Vikings are picking up steam because Dalvin Cook is having a potential MVP season. I really, really think he should definitely be in the conversation for it this year if he keeps it up. He's had an outstanding year so far. He's just emerged. You know, people are all of a sudden realizing, oh man, he has so many yards and so many points. You know, he had a 200-yard game last week. it was really, really entertaining. He's been a really fun guy to watch, unless you're a fan of the team that he plays against. But, Dalvin Cook is a huge reason why they're winning games, because Kirk Cousins is not doing great this year. The pass game's still not fantastic, but Dalvin Cook on the ground is always reliable, and that's why they keep going for him. But, the Bears defense is really good. I do not see Dalvin Cook being as big a problem in this game as he has been in the last few. I still see him putting a dent in there, but I don't see another 200-yard rushing game or, another 300 scrimmage yards game from him here. But I do have the Vikings winning here in a division game. I think the Bears are a better team than most people thought they were going to be. But the offense still doesn't have a whole lot going for it. But the Vikings, I think, have a little more offensively, and I think they're going to just keep the point deficit, in their favor. But with that being said, it definitely could go the other way. I think the Bears definitely have a chance to win here. But personally, I just think the Minnesota Vikings are going to win. And with that, we're done with the games for this week. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to comment any critiques you have for this. Let me know what I can improve on or what you liked about the video. And leave a like if you did enjoy it. And also be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single video, and ring the bell so that it notifies you every time I post. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to drop a like, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.